Welcome, everyone. And I must say, I'm not an AI expert. I'm an AI user. And for this last talk before lunch, I'm going to switch a little bit the focus, show you a use case, which I find particularly interesting on using tools with assistance of AI. And it's a topic I think all of you know. It's about knowledge management. So my name is Marc Herren. I am working as a consultant freelancer in particularly the area of DevSecOps and automation. And I consider myself as a very lucky person because through my work, I'm able to meet new persons, new companies, and eventually new clients. So I can learn something from new projects and new environments. And sometimes I'm able to work on very interesting projects like setting up a GPU cluster for local AI use. So I have to learn things about how to use scheduling on Kubernetes for AI workloads. And I think we are like in the gold rush days, so every day you discover a new fancy, interesting tool which you would like to learn and to play around with it. So a lot of new things coming up to you. And last but not least, joining conferences, learning new stuff, and progressing with your knowledge. But there's a catch. I tend to forget. So it's very difficult for me to remember what have I done a couple of months, couple of weeks ago. And I was quite relieved when I figured out this has nothing to do with my age, because if you look up the term, basically forgetting is quite important. So in the sense of second brain methodology, they state that your brain is meant to deal, create, and handling ideas, but not storing them. And if you go up and look up neuroscience, well, basically, they even say that forgetting is more important than remembering, because only when you forget something, you're basically able to learn something new. But now, how do we deal with actual knowledge we would like to keep and to remember? So in this short talk before lunch, I'm fully aware, I would like to show you two tools with AI assistants which are going to help you manage your personal knowledge management. And the first thing is about capturing knowledge. And I would consider this the easy thing, because writing down notes is pretty simple. And before we start, I would like to quickly go through the difference between what is a knowledge base, which I guess you all know from your company or from your work, and personal knowledge management. So if we go quickly through what is the purpose, as the name says, personal knowledge management is about knowledge you think is worth remembering. And within a company, you have a knowledge base. And if it's personal, you would like to have access all the time to this information. So I guess some of you still have a notebook around, writing down notes, or a piece of paper. Exactly, and within your company's network or corporate network, you will have access to a knowledge base, but perhaps not at home or not on the way. From the content, well, actually, if it's personal, you store whatever you would like to store within this information. So thoughts, ideas, things you have done, things you have failed is also very important. Within a company's knowledge base, actually you often store like FAQs or a procedural or processes how to achieve something within your company. And last but not least, the structure. As it's personal, I'm completely free to choose whatever structure you would like to use within documenting or writing down your knowledge. And within a company, knowledge base, I think for myself, the most difficult part is where should I put this piece of information so that at a later stage, someone will find it again. And just briefly, it's not about task managing. So personal knowledge management is about storing your information. What you do with it, well, it's up to you. And for me, as a freelancer consultant, working with different companies and new clients, it is very important to have this data local on my machine, not somewhere in the cloud. I'm pretty sure all of you know services like Notion or Confluence, which also integrate some sort of AI assistance. But the two use cases I'm going to show you are tools which you can run locally on your machine and also with local AI assistance. So the tool I use is Logseq. And Logseq is an open source tool for writing down information. And what I particularly like about it is the capability of writing a journal. So it's like writing your own diary. You do not have to think about where should I put this information, in which structure. You just write down whatever you have did during the whole day. And Logseq has this capability of bidirectional linking. So by keywords, you can then use different blocks within your knowledge to form then a page and go a little bit deeper or more, explain a bit more about what it is. And you can also use it for later on, put it into a knowledge base for someone else's usage. You can easily annotate PDFs and YouTube videos while watching them within the tool. You just write down whatever you think about this part, and it writes down the timestamp of your comment. And the best thing, it's all markdown language. So basically, it is a text file residing on your local hard disk, which you can use later on. So how do we integrate this with AI? So there is a plugin called Ollama Logseq plugin, and basically what it uses, it's using Ollama underneath. And for those who do not know, Ollama is a framework for running local large language models on your machine. And depending on the resources you have, it runs pretty decent. So on my M1 Mac, I have to wait a couple of seconds, but it works pretty decent. And within this plugin, you can basically also choose different type of models depending on the task you think is, you need which model for which task you think is the most appropriated one. So let's have a quick look how this works. So in order to show you then something which should not or could not be within a large language model, I have completely invented a term. So if someone knows the movie The Fifth Element, the main protagonist, Lilu, is basically learning about society or human society by watching movies. So I took this opportunity to say, okay, 5 elements learning from the movie basically is a technique to learn history through movies. And I just asked my local LLM, what are the pros and cons of learning this manner? So you will get an answer as you would expect from any sort of LLMs. Another neat feature within Logseq is the possibility to use flashcards. So I don't know if you remember flashcards. If you would like to learn for an exam, you basically have a piece of paper. On the front, you have written down the question. On the back, you have the answer. And you just iterate through. Well, you can do this with Logseq. And the most convenient thing is you can use this plugin to basically write down a flashcard. And you will get, based on the block or the text you have selected, a new flashcard with a question on the front and the answer on the back. I would say perfect. As said, this is the easy part, storing somewhere some information. Now we get to the difficult part, is finding it again somewhere, somehow. And I stumbled across a tool a couple of months ago, which is called Quiver. And Quiver is a second brain powered tool. And basically what it uses RAG to indexing the information and give you a better answer based on whatever you would like to chat with your brain about it. So what is RAG? Very, very simplified. Basically, you are optimizing the output of your large language model by providing some external resources. And if you would like to know more about it, there's going to be a session later on from Lisa explaining how you can use RAG within your work. So the goal of Quiver is basically that you feed from external resources like Word documents, Google Docs, or Notion to your brain to then be able to chat with your brain. In the open source version, currently at the moment, you can use local files or a web link. And this is what I'm going to show you now. So first of all, let's ask without any additional information. And for this, I've set up a brain using the Mistral large language model. And I forgot to tell you, but actually I wanted to say when forgetting is important. In science, there is even a term called active forgetting, where your brain tries to actively forget information the brain things you do not need anymore. So if I ask now my local brain with a Mistral LLM in the background what is active forgetting, I will get an answer based on this large language model. But what happens if I now add some knowledge? And to simplify it, I've just searched up for 2 documents. One is a PDF of a neuroscience website, and the other is a knowledge article on the web, and fed my brain by moving into my brain, adding some knowledge by providing the URLs to the documents, and in the background, Quiver will retrieve the information and process it. And now if I ask my brain, or my second brain, about what is active forgetting, I will get a much richer answer to the context I've asked. And I'm also able to ask about more, and well, basically you will find the content of the 2 documents integrated into the answer, which is shown here. And I can also ask for sources, and I will end up with the sources those 2 documents used basically to write their paper about this specific topic. So, first I talked about storing information. Second, I talked about how to retrieve information. So how do we combine it? Well, it's pretty easy. As I said, Logseq is a markdown, so it's basically a text file. I can simply add it to my brain. And when I ask my second brain what is 5 elements learning, what I've learned today, bam, I will get the answer about the pros and cons about learning history through movie. And with that short talk, I would like to conclude my session. I have written down all the links to the GitHub URLs, and on the right side is my LinkedIn profile. So I would say, like, happy learning, learn a lot, and enjoy your meal.